Oh, yes, I know.
I just want to get a photo here first, and then I can take notes. Here. Hold on, here we go.
I blinked.
I would take a picture of her right to justice behind. That's what I'll do.
Oh, you can do that. I've taken that shot so many times. The paper, it's a little... And I'm not a professional photographer.
Of course they're not.
Oh, that's good. No, that turned out fine.
Okay, I'll trust you. I'm not very photogenic. Oh, relief.
I'll let the professional ask a question.
Okay, so what's your reaction following this day?
My reaction is, this is very long overdue in a court process that should never have happened in the first place, that was pursued and instigated by police and Crown Prosecution Services who did not follow procedures. The case against me was based on 4 completely falsified police reports, and the Crown Prosecution Services did not follow the Attorney General's policy for how to decide whether charges should be laid or prosecuted.
Is it kind of bittersweet because you're never going to have a trial and have a judge say this didn't happen? I mean, this isn't a not guilty verdict. This is a stay.
Yes.
Meaning we're just halting this, and there's no decision either way. Is that disappointing?
It is disappointing because I did want my day in court to stand up and speak my truth on the court record. I have now had to complain about 5 different judges in provincial court. No, four different judges in provincial court. I feel they were biased. One of my problems is they made me so ill. They brought back suicidal ideations. They brought back the lowest health I have suffered in a very long time. So the bittersweet is, no, I won't have my day in court with this to stand up and say that. But how I feel about it is, it didn't matter what I said. It didn't matter what the evidence showed. It didn't matter about the truth. The objective was covering up and pretending the Crown Prosecution Services and police did nothing wrong. But I will have my day in civil court.
Now, that's going to be my next question. In your letter in April, in which you requested this, you said you were going to withdraw all complaints against prosecutors, police. You didn't mention judges, but I assume that was implied.
Yeah.
But the way you've been talking this morning, that doesn't seem to be the case.
When I made that offer, it was if they withdrew the charges immediately. They did not do that. Crown Prosecution Services continued to refuse to even respond to correspondence. So I said that offer is null and void because they didn't do the honourable thing. I'm now going to proceed through civil court against Barry McKnight, the 4 police officers who broke in to my home, violated my charter rights, and they blatantly did not offer me my right to counsel, which is a charter violation. And it says specifically in the New Brunswick Mental Health Act under Section 10, when anyone is involuntarily detained under the Mental Health Act, the police are required to read them their charter rights and give them immediate access to counsel, which they did not do.
Now, I've read the psychiatric report that was filed with the court late last year. And these are devil's advocate questions. This is my job, okay?
Yes.
In that report, it says that you have a history of threatening to harm yourself in order to get what you want or have your needs met immediately. Now, in this situation, in April, you said you were leaning towards suicidal ideations,
yes,
being driven that way by the process.
Yes.
And now the charges haven't stayed, and you get what you want to a certain extent. Is this? I mean, some would say this is a continuation of that pattern.
That doctor's report is very much disputed. He was not my doctor, and he made a lot of factual errors in the report. I have actually never, ever, ever threatened to kill myself. Every single time I've been taken to hospital, it's people reading more into what I've said. And the reasons I had suicidal ideations in the first place is because I'm a victim of fraud by 2 divorce lawyers that the police refused to investigate. That doctor who did that report also said I was suffering from delusions. However, because I believed I was a victim of fraud. However, he's refused to reply to 2 letters I've written to him asking him to substantiate the delusional disorder diagnosis, because my doctor says I'm not delusional, and nobody has ever verified the fraud because the police refused to look at it, and the courts are refusing to acknowledge the numbers that were falsified. And one of the problems is my ex-lawyer was the deputy mayor of Fredericton City when she did that to me. So she's being protected.
You think after all this, the police should have a look at the way they approach calls as people that are suicidal? What should they do?
Well, the first thing they should not do is blast their way into your house through the front door without knocking and announcing, without telling the person inside why they're there, push you to the ground and pepper spray you, when I was just in my own home conducting my own business, not expecting anybody because I was not suicidal. The police behaved outrageously, and to cover themselves they then charged me with assaulting 2 of their officers. It's ridiculous. I was 40, how old was I? I was 50 years, sorry, that's me trying it on. I was 50 years of age, 4 young fit police officers, and I was supposed to have assaulted them.
Your birthday's in March, right? You were
March
49.
30th.
You're 49.
Thank you.
Should they have
again.
Should they have mental workers there?
They should have a mental health worker with them, but my problem is if that means chemo, they're worse than useless, and all mental health's mobile crisis unit does is call the police. So it's not working on any level for mentally ill people. And when the police broke into my house that night, they arrested me, and it's already been verified by Jeff Mockler and Darlene Blunston that they had no powers of arrest. So basically what they did was arrest me 3 times with no grounds. They never once said, which their reports confirm, you're being detained under the Mental Health Act. They told me I was arrested. They do not do anything properly. The Fredericton City Police Force needs a whole shake-up from top to bottom, and Barry McKnight going is the first, hopefully, the first step in that happening. They're a disgrace.
Earlier this week, in a decision from the Court of Appeal, and you're probably not aware of this, it's in one of Andre Murray's cases.
Oh, yes.
In a ruling on motion. A Court of Appeal judge said Mr. Murray and others, and he didn't say who it is, are clogging the court system with a lot of court actions. He was referring mainly to civil stuff, but some of the things he referred to are happening in criminal court as well. He said these are self-represented litigants, and you're a self-represented litigant, and you've been in court a lot, and there have been a lot of procedural snafus to whom they're attributable. That's not for me to decide. But the judge was highly critical of people who were laying complaints against judges to get them off the case, and he called it judge shopping. A lot of what he described could apply to your process.
Yes.
And I'm saying that objectively, having witnessed some.
Yes.
I know it's hard for you to comment. You haven't seen this decision. But how do you feel about hearing those criticisms come from the province's highest court? And he did say this is not all self-represented litigants. It's a small number, but they're creating a lot of clog in the system for the lawyers, judges, the court staff as well. There's a lot of demands on court staff as a result. Because I know you've requested a lot of records and a lot of things like that.
Yes.
Do you feel that there's being an unreasonable amount of pressure being exerted on the system?
I think the system, the judges themselves are not abiding what Chief Justice of Canada Beverly McLachlan recommended, which was assisting self-represented litigants. My experience when it's been myself and others is that judges basically blow you off. They won't give you procedural direction, which they're required to do. Let's look at my example as a self-represented litigant. I was charged on bogus grounds. The Crown Prosecution Services did not properly vet the issues. They went to a prosecution that should never have happened. It was the Crown and the court who postponed it for 6 months. It was the Crown and the court who postponed it for another 6 months. Then I wised up and filed a motion for charter violations because I had identified what the police had done and the Crown had done. And the next thing was, Judge Dixon didn't bother turning up to the hearing. At the following hearing, he recused himself. Then I had David Walker, who refused to give me a hearing to resolve the issues. And that's all I asked for, was a hearing to resolve the issues.
Charter issues you're talking about.
Yeah, the charter issues and the abusive process.
Well, he said that those would be dealt with at trial,
And
which is how they always are.
And that's my point. It should not have gone to trial.
Yeah.
I offered them an opportunity to resolve it there and then. Instead, we had another 6, 7, 8 hearings. The Crown prosecutors are turning up 2 at a time against me, and the judge is refusing to read evidence that it was an abusive process. The Crown didn't reply to any of my letters, which drove me to file more motions to say this is a Crown prosecutor not even providing evidence that proves my case, which they're obligated to do by law and case law. So every step of the way, this process has now taken 23 months only to have a stay of proceedings because I was ill. This is where we came in. It should never have been prosecuted. So I'm saying it's not the self-represented litigants who are causing the clog. It's very antagonistic and biased judges protecting a system that is rotten, and it's Crown prosecutors protecting a system that is rotten and corrupt. And we need things to change, but as long as judges and the Canadian Judicial Council and the New Brunswick Judicial Council ignore what's happening in New Brunswick, nothing's going to change.
And I should be clear, I asked you about that because I'm working on another story about that decision.
Okay.
It's not related to what happened here today.
And I've seen it happen to Andre, I've seen it happen to Evelyn Green. The judges shut us down, and to Jen Wombold, they shut us down. They do not want to see the evidence. It's willful blindness.
You know what? For a wingnut, you're pretty smart.
Thank you very much.